Hey, welcome. We hear the term machine learning thrown around all the time, right? Well, in the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to pull back the curtain. We'll go from those big, abstract ideas to the actual concrete steps that show you how a machine really learns and how that process is already powering so much of our world. So, what's the magic behind all of that? Well, it's the same core idea. Whether it's your phone unlocking just by seeing you, or Netflix knowing exactly what movie you'll want to watch next, machine learning is that invisible engine making it all happen. And this isn't some far-off sci-fi stuff. This is technology you're literally using every single day. Okay, so here's our game plan. First up, we'll tackle what data science even is. Then, we'll get into the really cool part: how do machines actually learn? After that, we'll walk through building a model, step by step. And finally, we'll take a quick peek at the tools of the trade. All right, part one. Let's get the big picture. You hear all these buzzwords: AI, machine learning, data science. People kind of use them all interchangeably, but they're not really the same thing. They're actually different layers of this really fascinating field. Let's break down how they all fit together. So, at the very, very top, you've got artificial intelligence, AI. Think of this as the big, grand goal, right? The whole concept of creating machines that can think and solve problems like humans do. It's the entire universe we're playing in. Okay, so if AI is the universe, then machine learning, or ML, is a really powerful galaxy inside it. And here's the key difference. Instead of writing a million lines of code for every single possible situation, we just give the machine a bunch of data and let it figure out the patterns on its own. It's all about getting a machine to learn, not just obey. And that brings us to data science. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's the craft, the discipline of using all these tools, including machine learning, to dig into data, find those golden nuggets of insight, and solve actual, real-world problems. This is how we turn a giant pile of data into something useful. Okay, so we've established that machines can learn from data. But how? How does that actually happen? Well, it turns out there are a few core strategies for teaching a machine, and each one is good for different kinds of problems. Now, the two big ones you'll hear about most are supervised and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is exactly like studying for a test with an answer key. You show the machine tons of examples that are already labeled, like, here are 1,000 pictures, and we've already told you which ones are cats. The machine studies those examples and learns the patterns. Unsupervised learning, totally the opposite. It's like we just dump a giant mixed bag of fruit on the table and say, okay, sort this out. The machine has to find the patterns and create the groups on its own without us ever telling it what an apple or an orange is. And it doesn't stop there. There are other really cool styles too. You've got reinforcement learning, which is basically learning through trial and error. Think of a computer learning to play a video game. It gets points for good moves and loses points for bad ones. It just keeps playing until it gets really, really good. And then there's deep learning, which is this super powerful type of machine learning that uses these complex things called neural networks, which are kind of inspired by the human brain, to tackle huge problems, like understanding what you're saying to your phone. Okay, this is all great in theory, but how do you actually build one of these predictive models? Let's walk through the actual step-by-step journey, from a pile of raw data to a decision-making tool. It pretty much boils down to these 4 steps. First, you gather up all your data and you figure out its key features, the measurable bits and pieces. Then, and this is super important, you split your data into 2 piles, a training set and a test set. Step 3, you feed that training data to your model and let it do its thing, let it learn all the patterns. And finally, you see if it actually learned anything by testing it on the data it has never, ever seen before. And I really have to emphasize this. That split between training and testing data is absolutely crucial. I mean, why? Think about it. If you test a student on the exact same questions you used to teach them, you have no idea if they actually understand the subject or if they just memorize the answers. It's the same thing here. You have to see how the model performs on new, unseen data to know if it can actually work in the real world. And this whole process brings us to 2 classic problems you can run into. The first is called overfitting. This is when the model is like that student who memorized the textbook so perfectly, including all the typos and weird footnotes, that they can't answer a simple question that's phrased a little differently. It learned the training data too well, but it completely fails on new stuff. Underfitting is the exact opposite. The model is too simple. It's like the student who barely skimmed the chapter and missed the main point entirely. The real art of data science is finding that perfect sweet spot right in the middle. So when we're evaluating a model, how do we get more specific than just it worked or it didn't work? We use this awesome tool called a confusion matrix. It lays everything out. A true positive? That's a correct hit. A true negative? That's a correct rejection. Easy enough. But where it gets really useful is in looking at the errors. A false positive is a false alarm. It said yes when it should have said no. And a false negative is a miss. It said no when it should have said yes. This grid tells us exactly how our model is getting things right and where it's going wrong. And that matrix lets us calculate metrics that are way more insightful than just overall accuracy. For example, there's precision. Precision asks, when our model predicted yes, how often was it actually right? Then there's recall, which asks a totally different question. Of all the actual yes cases that were out there, how many did our model manage to find? And this distinction is so important. Think about it. For a medical test that's screening for a disease, you want incredibly high recall, right? You would rather have a few false alarms than miss a single real case. But for your email spam filter, you want super high precision. You don't want it accidentally flagging an important job offer as spam. All right, we're in the home stretch. For our last part, let's take a quick peek inside the modeler's toolkit. Because it's not like there's just one machine learning button. There's a whole collection of different algorithms, and each one has its own special strengths. Just to give you a taste, here are a few of the big ones. You've got something simple like linear regression, which is great for predicting a number, like the price of a house. Then you have decision trees, which are basically just a flow chart of simple if this, then that rules. Of course, there are the neural networks we talked about. Those are the complex engines behind deep learning, doing things like image recognition. And then for unsupervised tasks, you have things like k-means clustering, which is awesome for automatically grouping similar things together, like finding different types of customers in your data. A huge part of being a data scientist is just knowing which tool to pull out of the box for which job. And the work isn't over once the model is built. Not even close. There is this whole other field now called MLOps, that stands for Machine Learning Operations. And its entire focus is on taking these models and actually deploying them in the real world, monitoring them and maintaining them over time. Because the world changes, data changes, and a model has to be treated like a living thing, not a project you just finish and forget about. So there you have it. That was a super quick tour, all the way from the big idea of AI down to the nuts and bolts of MLOps. What I hope you see is that machine learning isn't some kind of black magic. It's really a logical, structured process of teaching a computer to find patterns in data. And that really leaves us with the most important question of all. Now that we understand the basics of how these things learn, what are the next big, important, creative problems we should ask them to solve?